The long-standing feud between two titans of the New York music scene, Sean Diddy Combs and Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, has erupted in an unexpected and explosive way in a federal courtroom, where Diddy is facing serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. In a shocking twist, 50 Cent made a surprise appearance at the trial, taking the witness stand and turning years of social media jabs into a high-stakes legal battle. What was once trolling and industry beef has now escalated into full-blown war, and 50 Cent didn't come empty-handed. His testimony hit like a grenade. His name surfaced during the emotional testimony of Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Diddy who later became the head of marketing for his Sean John fashion line. Clark, who worked with Diddy from 2004 to 2018, revealed disturbing details about her time within his empire, including threats and even an alleged kidnapping by Diddy in 2011. What added weight to her testimony was her prior connection to Death Row Records, the infamous label run by Diddy's longtime nemesis Suge Knight. According to Clark, Diddy once took her to Central Park late at night and ominously said, "I didn't know you were connected to Suge Knight. If anything happens, I'd have to kill you." Clark's testimony didn't stop there. She recounted an incident during an MTV press event where Diddy encountered 50 Cent. She alleged that Diddy made a threatening remark toward 50's manager, further painting a picture of intimidation and power plays. Though both Diddy and 50 Cent rose to fame representing New York's vibrant hip-hop scene, their rivalry has spanned decades. And now, with one man facing the possibility of life in prison, the other seems unapologetically pleased to see it unfold. In a courtroom moment few anticipated, the long-buried tensions between Sean Diddy Combs and Curtis 50 Cent Jackson exploded into the open, not through diss tracks or social media jabs, but under oath. This rivalry, dating back decades, reached a chilling new level as 50 Cent directly implicated Diddy in two of hip-hop's most haunting unsolved murders, the notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, and Tupac Shakur. In an old diss track, 50 Cent once rapped, "Who shot Biggie Smalls? If we don't get them, they're gonna kill us all." Puff know who hit that. It was a clear accusation that Diddy had knowledge, or possibly involvement, in the 1997 drive-by shooting of Biggie, who had been one of his closest friends. Similarly, 50 Cent has long suggested that Diddy may have played a role in the 1996 killing of Tupac, a claim he doubled down on in a 2023 Instagram post mocking Diddy and linking him to the crime with the caption, "Damn, so Pac got lined by Brother Love, LOL." Time to lawyer up. Diddy has repeatedly denied all allegations regarding the deaths of both Biggie and Tupac. In a 2018 interview on The Breakfast Club, he downplayed any real beef with 50 Cent, claiming "he loves me" and suggesting the animosity was one-sided or exaggerated. However, testimony this week from Capricorn Clark, Diddy's former assistant and longtime insider, painted a different picture. Clark described an incident at an MTV press event in New York where Diddy and 50 Cent were both present. After the event, Clark, Diddy, and entertainment manager Chris Lighty, who was managing both artists at the time, entered an elevator. According to Clark, Diddy turned to Lighty and said, "I don't like all the back and forth, I don't do that. I like guns." When asked by prosecutors what the issue was, Clark confirmed he had an issue with 50 Cent. This statement was far from isolated. Throughout the trial, multiple witnesses have testified that Diddy frequently resorted to intimidation, threats, and even violence to exert control, including against former employees and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. Clark's testimony about Diddy's thinly veiled threat involving firearms adds to a growing body of allegations that suggest a pattern of behavior far more sinister than the public persona Diddy once projected. For 50 Cent, this courtroom drama isn't just vindication, it's an opportunity to expose what he claims is the private Diddy that the world was never meant to see. For over a decade, whispers of veiled threats and gun-related intimidation surrounded Sean Diddy Combs, but for Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, those rumors weren't enough to scare him, they were a call to speak up. In court, 50 Cent described a side of Diddy that the public rarely saw. He talked about exclusive, off-camera parties, the kind where phones were banned and privacy was absolute. These weren't just lavish celebrity gatherings. According to 50, they were controlled spaces where the boundaries between power, pleasure, and manipulation became dangerously blurred. He didn't sugarcoat it, he called Diddy's behavior predatory. According to 50 Cent, Diddy thrived in environments where he could control everything and everyone. He described how Diddy would observe guests at these gatherings, pushing limits, testing boundaries. Those who refused to play along weren't confronted openly, they were simply cut off. Quietly. Permanently. 50 shared a specific memory that stuck with him. Years ago, after a music event, he was invited to an exclusive suite where Diddy was hosting. At first, it seemed like a typical after-party, expensive champagne, music, familiar faces. But something felt off. People were tense, some visibly uncomfortable. The energy was unsettling. 50 said he left after an hour. What disturbed him more was the phone call he received the next day from someone who stayed. That person was shaken. They had witnessed things they couldn't unsee. Guests were allegedly being pressured into doing things against their will, and Diddy was right at the center of it. For 50 Cent, that moment changed everything. It wasn't about wild nights anymore, it was about power, about how Diddy manipulated environments to break people down or shut them out. The stories didn't stop there. According to 50, artists who got close to Diddy mysteriously vanished from the industry. Employees quit without explanation. The pattern, he implied, was consistent. On social media, 50 responded to being named in court with his usual blend of sarcasm and shade. He posted a meme-like image, saying, "Cut, wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun. I can't believe this. I don't feel safe," alongside an AI-generated image of himself on a film set. Shortly after, he posted another AI image of himself looking terrified with the caption, "Oh my goodness, itty bitty Diddy wants me dead. I have to lay low, pensive face, I think I'm gonna hide out at the playoff game tonight, LOL." And he did just that. The next day, 50 Cent was spotted courtside at the NBA playoff game between the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers, wearing a shirt that boldly read, "Free Diddy." It was part mockery, part provocation, and a reminder that while one titan of hip-hop faces the possibility of federal prison, the other is watching, commenting, and refusing to stay silent. Over the years, 50 Cent has consistently mocked and criticized Sean Diddy Combs on social media, long before Diddy faced the serious federal charges he's now on trial for. Those charges include racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transporting individuals for prostitution, allegations to which Combs has pleaded not guilty. While the courtroom is filled with heavy accusations and emotional testimonies, one moment stood out this week. Capricorn Clark, a former close associate of Diddy, recalled an incident at an MTV press event where Diddy, speaking to 50 Cent's then manager Chris Lighty, allegedly said, "I don't like the back and forth, but I like guns." According to legal experts, including attorney Zafi Patterson, that statement reinforces the image of Diddy as someone with a dangerous edge. Someone who not only made threats but had the power and history to carry them out. Clark's testimony adds to the growing list of disturbing claims. Prosecutors have argued that Diddy used intimidation as a tool, not just with artists, but with staff and even romantic partners. Multiple witnesses have described violent behavior and manipulation, with names like Cassie, Usher, and Neo mentioned in relation to events where alleged abuse took place. Some of these celebrities, while present, have not been directly implicated but were reportedly in the vicinity during serious incidents. As for the root of the feud between 50 Cent and Diddy, many trace it back to a 2006 diss track, in which 50 accused Diddy of knowing who was behind the murder of the notorious B.I.G. But according to 50, it wasn't just industry competition, it was personal. He claimed that in the early 2000s, someone from Diddy's inner circle approached him with a vague, off-the-books business proposal about building elite, expressive spaces. When 50 asked for details, things became evasive. Days later, Diddy allegedly confronted him and told him to drop it. It wasn't for him. 50 said the look in Diddy's eyes that day made it clear he wasn't going to comply, and Diddy didn't like that. This moment, shared in court, was quiet but intense. 50 didn't raise his voice, didn't dramatize, he simply laid out his version of events. In a recent Hollywood Reporter interview, he reiterated his discomfort with Diddy's world, saying he deliberately stayed away from Diddy's infamous private parties. He described the vibe as uncomfortable and told a bizarre story where Diddy once invited him to go shopping, something 50 said struck him as unsettling. That might be something a man says to a woman, he said, explaining it was one of many moments that made him feel uneasy. The most damning blow, however, came with the release of a hotel surveillance video in May, which showed Diddy violently attacking his ex-girlfriend Cassie. The video, part of a now settled lawsuit in which Diddy allegedly paid $50,000 for the tape, triggered widespread outrage. Diddy later issued a public apology, though notably, he never mentioned Cassie by name, likely due to a non-disclosure condition in their settlement. For 50 Cent, these revelations are not shocking, they're confirmations of what he says he's seen and felt for years. And now, as Diddy's trial unfolds, 50 Cent remains both a vocal critic and a key witness, continuing to call out what he describes as years of abuse, manipulation, and unchecked power. For years, 50 Cent had mocked Diddy publicly through interviews, diss tracks, and social media posts, but nothing could have prepared the public for what happened in that courtroom. When the brutal hotel surveillance video of Diddy attacking his ex-girlfriend Cassie surfaced earlier this year, it was a moment of reckoning. Though Diddy later issued a video apology, stating, "I hit rock bottom. My behavior in that video is inexcusable. I'm truly sorry, 50 Cent wasn't buying it." He fired back, saying, first he denied it even happened. Then the tape comes out, so that means everything he says is a lie. The clip, once posted to Diddy's Instagram, was swiftly deleted, but the damage was done. For 50, this wasn't just about one video, it was about decades of manipulation, silence, and fear. In court, 50 Cent painted a chilling portrait of Diddy's world, a place filled with exclusive parties that went far beyond the glitz and glamour shown online. These were secretive, no-camera environments where boundaries didn't exist, and where Diddy allegedly wielded control like a weapon. 50 spoke of people who worked with Diddy and later confided in him, describing an atmosphere where they felt trapped, not by contracts or career setbacks, but by fear. He claimed many believed that if they ever spoke out, it wouldn't just cost them their careers, it could ruin their lives. Silent threats, blackmail, and whispered rumors kept people in check. One of the most unsettling rumors, 50 said, was that Diddy kept files, compromising material, photos, videos, as leverage. Though he admitted he never saw the files himself, too many people described them for him to dismiss it as paranoia. He described artists leaving late-night studio sessions looking emotionally drained, as if something had been taken from them. And yet, none of them ever spoke publicly. That silence, 50 said, was the most terrifying part. At one point during his testimony, Diddy, visibly shaken, whispered to his legal team and slammed his hand on the table. The judge quickly called for order, but the outburst made clear that 50's words were hitting hard. Still, 50 remained composed. He got personal, speaking not just as a rival, but as someone who had once been young and vulnerable in the same industry. The worst part, he said, wasn't the violence, it was the way people around Diddy excused it, laughed it off, or ignored it. "I'm done whispering," 50 concluded. "This isn't about beef. It's about truth." While Diddy and 50 Cent had collaborated musically in the early 2000s, with 50 even ghostwriting for him early in his career, 50 made it clear there was never a true friendship. In fact, he recalled the moment he refused to speak to Diddy when the mogul once called his house and his son's mother answered. He said he wanted no part in Diddy's world, especially after Diddy allegedly invited him on a shopping trip, something 50 said made him deeply uncomfortable. "That's something a man says to a woman," he remarked in a recent interview, reaffirming that he'd always kept his distance from what he saw as a manipulative presence in the industry. 50 didn't stop there. He called out Diddy as someone who took credit for the work of others, saying, "People call him a producer, but I see people who were taken advantage of. He's not a producer. He's a businessman who exploited creatives." Then came the media storm. Old videos, tweets, interviews, everything 50 had said over the years about Diddy suddenly took on new meaning. Hashtag 50 was right began trending. Fans re-examined every Bad Boy Records departure, every strange interview, every artist who vanished. What once seemed like conspiracy or drama was now being viewed as a long-standing pattern. Diddy, famously vocal and image-conscious, had no response. No press release. No social media post. Just silence, and that silence spoke volumes. For someone who built a brand around being untouchable, Diddy now looked anything but. And the most unsettling part? 50 Cent isn't the last to speak. More witnesses are expected. More stories are coming. The industry is watching closely, and many are beginning to realize, if Diddy can fall, anyone can. This isn't just about one man. It's about an entire system that protected him. It's about the silence that enabled abuse. And now, that silence has been broken. The truth is out, and there's no stopping it.